Father, we are so grateful that you are a good God, and we give you all praise, honor, and glory. Thank you for your Son, Jesus, and for the gift of the Spirit. We ask you that you join us here today during our meeting, that you will open up our hearts to your ways, to your goodness, to your truth, to your love, to your mercy, to your justice. And Lord, bless each person here. Bless this school, the kids, and everybody involved in the schools, because, Lord, we need your blessing. We need your wisdom and your guidance. So we offer this time up to you as an act of worship. We love you, and it's in your Son's name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you.
Yep.
I'll call the meeting order, right? So, Christie, would you like to do roll call?
Thanks, Jalen.
Keith Moyer.
I am here.
Tamara Kirk.
Yes.
Joanna Ross. Here. Jim Schlichting.
Here.
Jeff Jennings.
Yes.
Randy McLean.
Here.
Todd Glancy.
Here.
That is everyone. If you'll all stand, the pledge
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I would vote.
Okay. Entertain a motion to approve the agenda with the addendum of the approval to join WeMet.
So moved.
Thank you, Ramona. For a second?
Second.
Jim? Motion and a second to approve the agenda with the addendum of the action item to approve the joining of WeMet. All in favor? That's everyone? Recognitions?
We do. Mr. Long and Miss Manning would come up. Come on up. Mr. Kemp. Or, I'm sorry, Mr. Andrew, do you have anything, are you talking about them? Or am I?
We're good. I think
Or
he's
they
going
can
to
talk-
do...
He's gonna talk about
Yeah.
themselves?
Look, he's in the back row talking, and then we were caught, I think.
time you got?
Well, I
Yeah.
know that we're still in February, we're at the end of February, but March does kick off Music and Schools Month as well. But we know that our band program is one of our strongest programs for our school, so we're appreciative to both of you for all that you do. But we also wanted to invite them and showcase some of their students to share some of their exciting news. You did a little bit, but if you'd like to elaborate.
Yeah, absolutely. So February 11th, we went to the Richmond Middle School Festival. We've been going to this festival for a number of years. It's run by Jeffrey Clymore, who is an Oak Grove grad. He's the band director in Richmond, so that's just interesting to note. This is our second year back post-COVID. We took 99 students, 34 events, 43 events total. Of those 43 events, 34 of them got a Division I. That's the highest rating you can get. You saw 3 of those 43 that got the 1+. We took 99 kids total. That's just all our 7th and 8th graders. So we don't take 6th graders because we give them a year to kind of get their feet wet, learn how to play their instruments, and then everybody goes in 7th and 8th grade. And of those 99 students, 75% of them got a Division I rating. And I'm no math wizard, but I think that's over 75%. So we're really pretty excited about that, post-COVID especially. Last year was the first year we had gone back since COVID. And we certainly didn't have results like this because everyone was getting back into the mix. So we had a handful of people that scored 3s, a healthy chunk that were in the 2 category, and then we had some that got 1s, and this year they just annihilated it. And so the judges were very complimentary of the Oak Grove kids. We stressed their professionalism and their character, which is why they ran this performance themselves, and Mrs. Manning and I just stand back and we're audience members just like we are on that day. Mrs. Manning is in charge of the 8th grade band. The 8th grade band, as well as playing small ensembles, they play as a large ensemble. And go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, we were excited to celebrate them as well. They got a 1 rating as well, and it was really exciting for me because it was the first competition that I had ever been to in that scale on the director side of life, and it was just nice to see the kids enjoying it. And I chose a lot harder music, and I mean, they aced it, obviously. They're super, super fantastic, and I mean, if it wasn't for Nathan and the kids just supporting all of that, I mean, we wouldn't be where we are, so.
So anyway, thank you for letting us take a minute of your time. Sorry I stole half of your agenda. All right. Then
We're
You might as well tell them
happy.
about jazz band too.
Okay, so this past Saturday, we did take, gosh, I wasn't prepared for this. We took 3 groups down to Jazz Fest at UCM. One of those is our 8th grade jazz band. That's about 20 kids total. And then we have 2 jazz bands at the high school level. Last year, we were only able to offer 1 because of the COVID year, we didn't offer jazz at all. It was just on the chopping block. It was an easy thing not to have. So last year was the first year to have jazz back. And we went to that festival and we just did comments only because I had no idea what to expect. And this year we were able to have 2 jazz bands, so we're back to pre-pandemic levels. Mr. Salmon was there, as he always is, and saw the first jazz band play at 8:30 in the morning. The Oak Grove Jazz Ensemble then played 4 ratings and got a Division I rating. We also got an Outstanding Musicianship Award for Aubrey Beeler, who's a senior alto saxophone player. And that second song, Giovanna was there too. It's her
Yeah.
accompanied by the band, pretty much. I think there's like a total of 12 measures where she doesn't play in that song. So we had a great day, and all 3 bands, performed really well. So we're glad to have these things back, as we are glad to have everything back.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you guys run a great program. It's exciting to see so much success, so we thank you for all your dedication and what you do.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Right. Yeah, we did state wrestling. I think next month we'll have our finalists, our 3 state medalers come in and recognize them as well. But we sent 3 to state and we had 3 medals, so we were excited about that.
Including our first.
Female.
Yeah.
Yep.
Very cool.
Yep.
That's the ECC grant.
Yes, and we wanted to recognize, Michelle's had written that grant for the ECC, and our playground equipment is coming in, and it's it's on its way, right?
Yes.
And we've got the turf, the little pack, I can't even speak. Yes. The pour and play for the bike track, tricycle track is on its way too. That's under spring break, so we're real excited to get that.
And the awning.
And on.
Yes.
Very good.
Awesome. Thank you, Michelle. Okay, next we have the consent agenda.
I know, we're all tongue-tied, sorry.
I'll entertain a motion in a second to approve the consent agenda.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Deanna.
Second.
Thank you, Todd. A motion in a second for the consent agenda. All in favor? That's everyone. Now we have some action items. Approval of the addition of girls golf for the 2023 school year.
Thank you guys for bumping me up so I can get back to district basketball. Girls golf, so in the past 5-6 years, and probably before since I was here, we've had quite a few girls try out for girls golf. We've had a couple make the boys team since I've been here. One of the standouts was Olivia Johnson there for a couple years. Really good golfer, probably could have done some stuff if she was competing against girls in the girls season. So so we've had interest, so I went ahead and polled last year and then this year as well. It seems like we have about 25 that are somewhat or highly interested. That's 8th graders, next year freshmen through juniors. 7 of them are likely to try out and 18 might try out, so quite a few numbers. With the MRVC West Center has added girls golf for next year. That leaves us and Clinton. Clinton's in the talks of adding girls golf as well. So that adds us, gets us in line with everybody else in the conference as far as having all the sports. We would still be without tennis, boys and girls, but this is one step towards that direction. Facilities use, I've reached out to Adams Point. That's where we host our boys. That's our home course for our boys. They would be willing to have our girls next fall as well for the same rental price as we do for the boys. Transportation with golf is usually minimal. We have, they take team vans. We have an volunteer assistant coach for the boys right now, so we're able to transport the JV and varsity to those games or meets and matches. If we have enough girls that are on the team, we'd obviously have to take a bus, but you're looking at about 10 meets for the entire season. The schedule, it would be the first year we would just stick to conference tries and duels and the conference tournament. We'd do some non-conference tournaments as well, and obviously do districts and so forth with that. We would not host a tournament the first year. I'd want to wait a couple years to make sure we get the program established and rolling before we decided to host a tournament. Estimated expenses would be equivalent to what the boys golf is, just under $10,000. That's with the course rental, the head coach stipend, and the annual budget that we give them. We would expect them to do a fundraiser to get their student activities account some money into that as well. Equipment wise, they provide their own clubs. The Booster Club just bought us new rolling carts to roll around the course, which helps out a lot, because I like to ride in a golf cart, but they cannot do that, so it takes off the strenuous carrying the bag around the entire course. So we appreciate the Booster Club doing that. So we would have those available for the girls as well. No jersey or anything like that. They would probably purchase pullovers, windbreakers if they needed, even though it's in the fall, and probably a polo, team polo that they would keep. Yearly they do that. And then Title IX, by adding another girls sport, that would make us 8 girls sports and 8 boys sports, so that would equal us out as far as offerings, even though the numbers are still quite a bit lower, and that's always resorts back to football numbers. With numbers not being equal, I guess, we would be offering the same amount, so that helps us with our Title IX compliance. So I think we're ready to add it. We've had a lot of interest in the past couple years, and I think it's a good thing to have that offering for our girls.
You think there'll be very many that'll come away from volleyball or softball to do that, or will there come from doing nothing?
I think more coming from doing nothing.
Good deal then.
The 3 that I have off the top of my mind are in speech and debate, marching band, that kind of thing, which would not take them away from that. It would, they'd still be able to do that and
Sure, good
go
deal.
on. So.
Is there a minimum you would have to have to field a team?
So field an actual team, you have to have 5, but we've had less than 5 before. It's just you don't get a team score. They can still place as individuals, move on in state as individuals, but you just wouldn't have a team score. So 5 would, I think it's 5, well actually 4. 5 can be on the varsity, but the top 4 scores go towards the team.
Any questions? Comments? Okay. I'll entertain a motion and a second to approve the addition of girls golf for the 2023 and 2024 school year.
Motion? I will second that for Olivia Johnson. Let her know we got this done. Yeah.
I have a motion and a second for the approval of the addition of girls golf. All in favor? That's everyone.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Coach.
What's the score update?
We were down 12, gone into the 4th.
No.
District basketball.
Okay.
So now we have our amended item B. So I gave everybody a piece of paper. So we're amending the agenda to add action item B, and the purpose is looking for approval to join WeMet. In order to join WeMet, we have to have board approval, and as schedules are getting going, and UCM's coming out with classes right now for scheduling. The sooner that we do that, the better. So WeMet stands for Western Missouri Educational Technology Consortium, and it started in 1993. It started with ITV, but now that everything's virtual, it's still dual credit offerings for schools. So the number of dual credit offerings, and there's some, we do have to pay a fee, but it lowers the credit hour cost for our students. It also allows some of our students, teachers that are teaching face-to-face courses to be eligible to teach dual credit courses, and then students who are free or reduced in their classes wouldn't have to pay, they'd be exempt from the dual credit fees. They offer a lot of scholarship opportunities, so all the fees that we pay go into some UCM personnel, but also some scholarship. I think the huge plus is, you know, a lot of times our students who are doing dual credit, this is their first time experiencing that college level. And so the nice thing about WeMet Consortium is those schools have access to a UCM advisor directly, and they give you more grace with when the date you can drop, and you can drop without a W, without anything being on your transcript. So if there is a student who's not successful, they can still drop without tuition cost, without a W on their record. And that just helps, especially as students are learning to be dual credit, learning that college role. Classes are $96 for 3 credit hours. They offer an ACT prep course. They also offer, if we have 15 students in any one course, it's just a course just for us. They created one for Pleasant Hill and one for Odessa last year. So there's just some perks there. On the back is a list of all the schools this year who are WeMet members. Tyna is not participating next year. They haven't had a student for 3 years enrolled, so they're getting out of the consortium. Cost is $1,000 a semester, so $2,000 for the year, just to offer more opportunities, variety of classes for our students. I served on the WeMet board for the past several years, and so very familiar in what they provide our students. The other nice piece too, especially for first opportunity students, is they will communicate with you a little easier than if you're WeMet with our counselors, to let them know when a student isn't engaging, they're not successful, if they're not turning in work and assignments, that we'll communicate with our counselors to let them know. Even though it is a college class, they're still high school students, so it helps kind of coach them through that first dual credit opportunity.
Well, and it just adds to an already great opportunity with the dual credit courses we have and the AP courses. I mean, we keep this up, we'll have kids going into college as juniors. That's awesome.
We'll see. I'm ready for that.
Is WeMet for juniors and seniors or seniors only?
It's juniors and seniors.
Juniors and seniors?
Mhm.
Questions? No?
Good program.
Entertain a motion to approve the joining of WeMet.
I'll make that motion.
Randy?
Second.
Jim? Have a motion and a second. All in favor? Is everyone? Now we're on to discussion items.
Discussion items. Quarter 2 financial report. So this would be, our quarter 2 report is every 3 months. So this actually would have been ending in December. And so this is, again, just that measure that Shelley and I really use just to monitor our revenues and our expenditures, to kind of coordinate with our budget to make sure we're on track with our revenues, on track with our expenditures. The first whole section, first page and a half, is revenues. And revenues just come in at different times, so it's really kind of hard to monitor. This report is more for me looking at expenditures. Are we correct on where we're budgeting? And it breaks it down by specific line items, but it also breaks it down all of Fund 1 together, all of Fund 2 together. So I always go through, and at this point in the year, we shouldn't have spent more than 50% of the budget actualized, which is the second to the last column from the right. So as I know you might have to zoom, but I just go through there. It's a good quick glance. There are going to be times, for example, right there on audit, it's a one-time expenditure, so when we spend it, so it is going to be higher. So there are times those budget items are going to be over the 50%, but that's when I look at all in all. On page 3, for example, all of Fund 1, we were at 40%. So we've spent 40% of all of our Fund 1 expenditures as of December, which we wouldn't want to be more than 50%, or that would probably be a red flag. Fund 2, we were at 32%, Fund 3 at 15%, and Fund 4 at 68%. So total of our expenditures to date, we're at 33.9. So we're on really good track as far as where we are with our expenditures to make sure that we're budgeting effectively, budgeting correctly, and that we're not overspending in any area. So that's just that quarterly report. it's more something that Shelley and I really look at, but I think it's important just for you guys to have a glance at that too, every quarter. Any questions? No? Okay. CSIP update, survey results. So our goal was originally, after we had met all 4 of our CSIP meetings, was to approve the CSIP tonight. And our admin team got together to work on those goals, and after a 3.5 hour work session, we had 2 goals out of the 4 finished, which was good. It brought good conversation, and we want to make sure that we're really looking at those goals and all the action steps, making sure that we're taking our time with that. So I did want to kind of give an update. We work on Wednesday again with another work session to try to finalize some of those. But I do believe that we got a lot of really valuable information out of the CSIP process. We had just a lot of people in here who gave a lot of their time. We were able to pinpoint strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats of our district. We were able to pinpoint our beliefs. We were able to talk about what our top priorities are and analyze those top core priorities. And so on that main sheet, just kind of summarizes it at where we are, what we talked about for our mission and our vision. And part of that approval that will come back next month will be rolling out that mission and vision to staff and rolling that out to our community to make sure that everybody knows and understands and is aware of what our priorities are for the next 3.5-4 years going forward. So right now we're working on goals for student learning, staffing, district operations, safety, and security. So those are the main top 4 areas that we highlighted. Student learning and staffing were the first 2 that we met with our admin team, and there's a lot of meat there when we're talking about student learning and then our staff and professional development and recruiting and retaining staff. So those conversations were good. They just took a lot more time than we anticipated, that we allotted for. So we wanted to kind of push pause, and we can bring it in March, and we can approve that in March, but have a true outline plan that we feel really comfortable with. And then with our surveys, and I did click the surveys on there too, there was really good information, and we used some of this information in admin planning too, going through all of those surveys, and looking at student surveys, staff surveys, and then community patron surveys. And on the compilation of all of the results, they kind of put in all the red what correlated with that. So it helps us to see if it was listed as a strength in the student survey, was it listed as a strength in the parent survey, or the opposite. If it was a weakness or an area of concern on the parents, and it was also an area of concern on our staff, that's kind of a red flag to us that we probably need to look into that area and address some of those. So I found that really, really beneficial and interesting. And in our surveys, we had 700 students took the survey, because we had every student 6th through 12th grade take it. So that was great feedback. We had 220 parents and patrons, which I was a little disappointed in. And then we had about 140 of our staff take the survey as well. And so it gave us an overall, and I gave you guys the printed piece of paper of this as on your desks. But this is the kind of just the summary of it all and all of the results. What is our overall, so all the questions were rating scales, and then the last few, the staff and the parents and guardians had some written questions that were kind of open-ended. And so this is the summary of all those, saying that our overall, they said that our strengths were our teachers and our staff. The community support was a strength. Our academic priorities were a strength. Central office leadership, and Oak Grove being a small town. So those were all listed as our main strengths. Weaknesses, bullying, quality of treatment for students, communication, compensation, Board of Education roles, and teacher retention. Our greatest opportunities, looking into a 4-day week, mental health services, facility improvements, new superintendent leadership, and teacher pay. And then our greatest threats, drugs, funding, bullying, teacher retention, student mental health, student behavior, and facility cleanliness. So those are just kind of directions where we can take all of this information. Some of it is maybe perception, and so does that require education, and some of it may be truth and it requires action. So it just kind of depends, but this is good information for us to take with us in that planning. So I felt it important that you guys get those results. We're gonna end up at the end of all of this, have a section on our website with CSIP information. And so these surveys will be available on there for the public to see, and then our overall CSIP plan and all the components of it will be on there as well. So transparency seemed to be a big area of communication, transparency, education of what's going on seemed to be an area that we wanted to make sure we address as well.
A lot of great comments. It was impressive. And I know you don't like compliments, but it's very impressive too, the number of compliments to you and your leadership of the district too, so. Good.
I felt like the conversations were rich in those CSIP meetings. Nobody was discarded on opinions or perceptions, and I felt like the conversations just led to student-centered growth, and I think that was kind of the purpose. It was really encouraging to see so many, and to see so many staff enjoy the opportunity to sit down and have those conversations with board members and with parents. I think that came up in all of our exit tickets, every meeting that came up, just the opportunity to be able to collaborate and have these conversations. So, and as Dr. Daniel says, now the hard work starts. So as hard as some of those meetings were, now the hard work and the preparation, the planning, the action steps is what starts. So, all right. Legislative update. So this is legislative season, and I had asked Giovanna and Randy to kind of share hot topics that are going on right now, and I know that it's fluid and it changes daily and hourly, but I'll let you guys kind of update us on what concerns or what you think need to be on our radar.
I'll let you start.
Okay, Friday went to a focus group that the Cooperating School District of Greater KC is putting together. I think they are doing like a lot of advocacy groups now, trying to get the word out, trying to point a positive message about the good things going on in public education when other people are looking at the other side. I think, in my opinion, the pressing things this week will be a significant discussion on open enrollment. Missouri Retired Teacher Association sent out a call to action today in opposition of open enrollment, as has every group with the exception of MEA, because I think there's just, as we discussed, too many questions about inadequacies and what's going, budget and who goes where and when and how, and transportation, and the fact that they're devoting $80 million to transportation, which is, because 80 million is 80 million. That's money that could go to other places throughout the, when you're 50th in the nation, $1 helps, so that's a concern. I think the other, there are a significant number of issues, but the other issue it's kind of a fog because it's a 36-page document, but it's Senate Bill 4, which has a nightmare record keeping for public schools to DESE and to parents, and I think that to me is a big concern. There's some positive things. I mean, Jill Arthur from up in Platte County is there'll be a hearing tomorrow about increasing the funding formula, which hasn't been done since '05. So and Rusty Black out of Chillicothe, a retired teacher himself, is trying to reinstate the 255, which could keep teachers in the classroom and also bump up their retirement as well. It'd be 32 years instead of 31 like previously, but that. And there's all sorts of things about expanding the scholarship program and allowing tax incentives for homeschool students and a whole bunch of other stuff. But a bill filed is not a bill moving, so hopefully those don't move. But.
Yep. And I'll just add that there isn't a lot of movement right now, a lot of hearings, but not a whole lot of movement. But I think one of the things too, this session, from my lens, has been really focused on young children as well, and has been a lot of opportunities, one of which could impact district opportunities to offer more early learning using average daily attendance funds, so actually from the formula, so to be able to serve 3 and 4-year-olds as well. And so that's a piece that is coming, as well as other supports to help families with very young children to get some supports around childcare that could also help with our families that are in the district as well. But I do think it's really interesting that the formula is being looked at, because it's been a while since they've looked at the multiplier, and that's particularly to do the weighted ADA to give more credit for certain factors as well. And so Lauren Arthur is spearheading that bill. So I think there's movement, but it's always interesting to read the updates, whether they come from MSBA or from the cooperating schools or Aligned or Kids Win. Just the perceptions are the same, just around some of the gridlock as well, but not a real clear indication of what's gonna make it through yet.
And it's early, and there probably won't be any, I'm more worried about this, the open enrollment bill. I think that it shows more movement, and Brad Pollard, who's the author of the bill, thinks he's got the votes to get it through the House. And there's some support in the Senate as well, even though the last year craziness kind of reared its head last week, which is not a bad thing, because when crazy doesn't get things done, crazy stops things from getting done. So sometimes that can work in our favor. There's also discussion of adding funds to allow more school resource officers, which would be an awesome thing too, if again, filing and passing are a long way apart.
Okay. We appreciate, you two are in the know, so we appreciate updating us.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Administration updates. Michelle?
I thought Ty wanted to go first.
Well.
And Ty loves when I
Hey,
look
he's got a
at him.
picture with Olivia though, so that's some golf action.
We have finished our go bags and our buckets for our closets for emergencies, and updated our safety plans in our building, just because it is a new facility, figuring out exactly how everything will work over there. We also installed a security safety shutterproof film on our windows, which was really important to our teachers, because the windows are so large right there, just to give them a little more feeling of safety there. This month we've been studying nursery rhymes and fairy tales, and they're great vocabulary boosters and help with their phonological awareness. And the students were introduced to alliteration and rhyming and repetition, and following in the end of the month with Dr. Seuss, or the beginning of March with that, so a lot of more rhyming going on there. We've done a lot with Jack and the Beanstalk and counting magic beans, and some STEM stuff with some pool noodles and stacking and measuring. And then we will end Thursday, we will have the Zoomobile come for our AM and PM classes, and do a little bit from the If I Ran a Zoo from Dr. Seuss, and finish out our February and start our March. So.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. This month, we have been trying to make it a priority to get our teachers in more team meetings so that they can collaborate together, really looking at their essential standards and outcomes, and making priorities of what areas we need to kind of look at. And of course, we used our mid-year data because we have had a few months now to kind of analyze our data from the fall and kind of decide, make changes to our assessments, what we need to do to our instruction. So our focus has been this month is trying to get our teachers as much time together to plan, to give them time to do that. And it's hard because grade level teachers, we have 7. In each one of our grade levels at the primary. So trying to find a time that all 7 of them can get together and have these discussions is rare and hard. We're doing our best. Subs have been a huge concern, because we're trying to get these done during the school day and trying to get subs to come in. Sometimes it takes multiple attempts, so we try to give as many subs as we can. Have a meeting, some of our teachers aren't able to attend because we're short on subs, and then we meet again, another time. So, but we do appreciate that our teachers want to do this, they want to collaborate, they want to not only improve the instruction that they have but also do what's best for the kids. So I just wanted to applaud our teachers for always wanting to put in the extra mile for the kids. And then also coming up this soon, kindergarten. It's time for the incoming kindergartners to start enrolling. We have kindergarten information night coming up in the middle of the month, and then at the end of the month we have kindergarten screenings. And just to kind of give you guys some numbers, we have over 40 4-year-olds, 5-year-olds coming into kindergarten next year who are currently in our ECC program. So we have over 40 there. Called around to all the area daycares, and we have 20 plus in almost all of our daycares. So of what we just called around to get the information out about screenings, we have over 100 kids we've already located, and that's just our daycares and our current school. So not knowing what our class size is going to look like for next year, we've definitely know we have over 100 that we just found in about 10 minutes when calling around in Oak Grove. So I'll obviously keep you guys updated on the numbers once we do start everything and parents start enrolling. But just our little bit, we definitely are getting up there. So, and you never know who's going to move in between now and then also, so, or move out, I guess. But I guess
Or kindergartners.
Yes, so absolutely. But that is it. So any questions? All right, thank you guys.
Exciting things at the elementary. Last time I talked to you about the new doors that we got on the cafeteria, and here on the ECC we got new playground doors. Very exciting at the elementary last week. It's been many, many years since we've had doors that shut properly, lock properly, and you don't see daylight there. So very excited about those. February is Kindness Compassion Month. So this month we started something called Cop Being Kind High Fives. Our teachers and staff pass out Cop Being Kind High Fives to students who are demonstrating kindness in some above and beyond sort of way. And I will read those during morning announcements. We'll enter those into drawings, and then they can get prizes on Friday. So it's been a real positive thing for our building and for our students. And we started right after Valentine's Day, and we'll run through the end of the year. So that's pretty exciting. Sometimes our teachers will put in high fives for other teachers. So that's fun for kids to hear us recognizing other teachers for doing kind things to help out each other. We've started MAP practice tests and online tools training to help us prepare for the upcoming state assessments. We begin in the middle of April with our 3rd grade group, has 3 days of MAP testing. The next week, 4th grade has 3 days, and the first week of May, our 5th graders have 3 days. The week after that, makeup tests for MAP testing, and the week after that, the last week of school. So we go right up to the end of the school year. All of our classrooms are exposing students to the types of questions that they would be seeing on the MAP test. We've been doing it all year long in our math programs and in our ELA programs to get kids familiar with the types of questions that they'll be asked on there. If you've been in front of the elementary school, you've probably seen my new window vinyl decals. Very excited about those. Those are on my office windows and on our front doors. Our own technology department created those and installed those for us. So very thankful for Mr. Word and for Mr. Miller for putting that together. And I'm always open to new ideas for things at the elementary. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Now I get the mic. You guys are taking jabs at me all the time right there. A couple things. First of all, Mr. Kemp's not here tonight. I think Mindy might have told you he's in Jefferson City. You know, Mr. Kemp's the president of MOSSP for the Central Region, so he's in Jeff City. And a lot of what Randy talked about is kind of being discussed, and so he'll have a lot more information for that. So before I kind of talk about the middle school, I sent an email to Mrs. Hampton and Mr. Huffington. But we got brand new cameras in the middle school the last couple of months, and they have been phenomenal in helping me deal with a lot of just student issues and things that have gone on. That without those, I could never have figured out. And so I really want to thank Mr. Word for installing those and having those up and ready, because they've really made a difference in some things. So I just want to take a second on that. I was going to obviously talk a lot about band tonight, but Mr. Long, you can't ever steal the show from that cat, so I'll just take a back seat there. So I am going to talk about a couple of things, though, real fast. Our choir is going on Friday to Fayette. Kay Neese has done a phenomenal job with that. We have 49 total students heading to Fayette on Friday to compete in the competitions down there, and our students have really been engaged during Pride at that time. And then I think it was probably in the January, but I did want to recognize our middle school girls basketball team. They went 13-3 this year in the A team. And really, I think middle school athletics are obviously more about developing some talent and developing a passion. I think those girls did a good job along with the boys as well. Classroom-wise, from a curriculum instruction standpoint, our science faculty has been really reviewing and watching demos for our new science resources. We're pretty excited about that. All those teachers have really kind of collaborated throughout the time frames of the work week to kind of get that ready to implement some new resources in the classroom. Those hopefully will be kind of finalized before our next school year. Just like Misty had talked about, MAP is huge right now in public schools, and especially at ours. We have a MAP board that we do each week. The teachers are putting a lot on our Pride and on Mondays, so our MAP boards are being applied there. And we're getting ready to take the MAP. All of our practice forms in ELA and math and 6th and 7th grade are pretty much ready to roll, and our teachers have been doing a lot with that. 8th grade's implementing practice forms in ELA, math, and science. And of course, the EOCs are coming up as well. Online tools portion of MAP to help them navigate the assessments are a little bit easier and use those resources are embedded in the system. I want to thank Chris Nichols. He's been a lot with coming over to our district, getting all of our resources ready as far as our Chromebooks, and then also making sure that all students are up to date as we're ready to go with that. Third quarter ends this Friday. And then lastly, our choirs at UCM on Saturday, March 4th, and then our spring sports start next week. Of course, spring sports from high school started, but we moved that back a week. We had a couple of different things. We're actually doing something really cool this year. We're going to Bolivar for kind of like a state middle school track meet. The bus will leave at about 6 a.m. if anybody wants to go. And Randy will be ready by then. So we're kind of doing that. So we moved it back. So that starts March 7th. And then, of course, our band concerts from March 9th and choir March 13th. So we got a lot going on. It's a good place to be. Any questions?
Thanks.
I missed the last meeting at the Mayo Clinic with my daughter. I know Mr. Newman filled in spectacularly for me. Numerous happenings at the high school. Our counselors and teachers have been working with our students over the last few weeks on the 23-24 enrollment process. So we're at the point now where just waiting for students to get all their paperwork submitted, and then we'll turn it over to the counselors to build a schedule for next year. Mr. Haynes mentioned third quarter ends this week. We sent progress reports on the 17th of February just as an added step for our families and for our students to see, because third quarter is where we struggle at the high school level on grades quite frequently, so we wanted an extra step there. We appreciate the parents who then in turn use that info to contact teachers and find out what's going on in the classroom, that kind of thing. Grade cards for third quarter go out the afternoon of March 6th, which is our next PD day. Seniors have 1 quarter left. Everything in our power between administration and counseling offices to encourage our seniors to submit applications for Truman Heartland Foundation and then Oak Grove Educational Foundation this week as well. So hopefully you have a healthy number of applicants for those scholarships. They'll get their Jostens graduation materials later this week, meet with me to discuss the remainder of the year, and then of course graduation plans at that time as well. It's an exciting time for seniors and their families, and they're finalizing their future plans. On our March 6th PD day, we're going to get the second half of our high school faculty and staff trained on teenage mental health training, so we'll do that while the other half continues to work on curriculum with Mr. Hubington setting that in motion as well. March 14th, we will have a blood drive. I believe this one is a community blood drive as well. Contact Angela Denert, our high school nurse, with any questions about that event. So if anybody wants to donate, you can come to the band room and take part in that. March 16th is our Academic Letter Awards. That's a Thursday evening at 7 p.m. in the PAC. This year, 2011 grad Rachel Kilmer will be our guest speaker. That's also the time when we reveal our valedictorian and salutatorian for this particular senior class. March 24th, Mr. Long talked about bringing items back from COVID. We're going to restart Oak Grove High School Career Day. That's a day when we bring in industry and community folks to talk about their jobs. so that students can get a glimpse into what a daily life looks like for, hey, I want to be a doctor, but what does it take to be a doctor? That kind of thing. So Jerry Pierce has organized that event for numerous years, so we're bringing that back, and he's on top of making that happen for us. That then takes us to the end of March and a much deserved and anticipated spring break this year. Then of course our push at the high school level is like other buildings, is to push into state testing at the end of April, get ready for that, AP testing after that, and then boom, we're at the end of school and ready for final exams there. Coach Selke went back to district basketball, which we are hosting the boys tournament. Unfortunately, our boys lost tonight, so they're out of the tournament. Our girls tournament is being hosted at St. Michael, so they play tomorrow night on their first game of district basketball. Mrs. Hampton mentioned state wrestling a little bit, so I'm not going to steal any thunder from that. Let's see. Spring sports did start today, practices for that. All kinds of kids, and it's great weather right now, so they were all over the place. You probably saw some as you drove around. Our Readers Theater, our One Act, and our debate all came out of the MRVC tournament as tournament champions. So congratulations to all the kids that compete there and the directors for those. Our district competition is later this month at Ray-Pec and I believe at Pembroke Hill. So we'll see results of that later. We talked about band. I'll mention a couple of things with band as well. Choir, those of you who attended last Friday at the Coffee House Review, thank you for that. That's one of their biggest fundraisers for all the programs that they have, so we appreciate the community support there. Their district and solo and small ensemble contest is March 25th. That's for band as well. That contest takes place at Green Valley High School. Swing choirs, both of them, Impact and Radiance, will travel to Branson in April. Radiance also took 4th place overall at the competition at Sedalia. So that was fantastic for our all-girls group. We had 12 students who participated in the MRVC choir. The concert was held at Center High School last week before that. Sorry, I don't remember the date for that one. The next choir concert is March 13th. Band concert, Mr. Hames mentioned also, is March 9th. We are actually hosting MRVC Band Clinic all day tomorrow, and then the concert tomorrow evening in the PAC. So if you're interested in that, come on out to that. I don't want to say like a 5 or 5:30 start time. Have to check our calendar for sure on that. I apologize. Esports, still going strong. I went and watched them play one match, and then the next week I went to watch them again. I got there about 5 minutes after 5, and nobody's there. I'm like, okay, well, I must have missed it. And then I asked them. They started a little bit early, and the other team was really good.
Yeah.
And so it didn't last very long that time. So if you're ever in the part to watch that, then just know you have to be there on time. Our NHS kiddos held a hygiene drive earlier this year that benefited not only our high school nurse, but leftover items to Community Services League here in Oak Grove. And then of all, again, something else returning to Oak Grove, an old-fashioned bake sale, right? Kids in NHS brought all this food and set it out at lunch, and I'm telling you what, it went like hotcakes. Almost $700 that they raised from a bake sale that went to help the toy room, right? At the Early Childhood Center. So that was fantastic for our NHS kiddos to participate in that. Who would have known? Bake sale raising $700. That's about it.
Busy.
Should I go on? I'm sorry. Any questions for me? Great. Appreciate your time. Thanks.
Item on the agenda is our next meeting date is the Joint City School Board on March 8th at 6 p.m.
March 8th, we're going to meet in here. We'll have dinner. I do have the agenda items. So right now we've got up on the agenda to talk about upcoming ballot items, school safety, school partnership with ball fields, and our CSIP to update on that. So if there's anything else that anybody's interested or has a desire to put on that agenda, just let me know. We'll get that out.
And then our next regularly monthly meeting is March 20th.
Which is a week sooner because of spring break, so. Bring it up.
Seeing nothing else on the agenda, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn back to executive sessions when we finish up.
A motion.
Thank you, Todd.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Jeff. A motion and a second to adjourn back to executive. All in favor? Everyone?